Karsten, it's Murph from Impractical Jokers.
Hey Karsten, it's Hard Rock Nick, one of the richest men in the world.
Karsten Fox, if the doc were to start from scratch, how would you become a multi-millionaire again?
We're gonna hear from them in a minute, but my goal is to make $1 million in 2023, and I thought maybe the best way to do that is by asking 1,000 millionaires how they would make $1 million and if they had any advice for me. First thing I wanna do is just text over 500 millionaires and just ask them what their best piece of advice is. I would say follow your dreams. My advice for you is so it seems like a lot of this advice is pretty general. Keep on going, be patient. And a lot of people talk about knowing your costs, knowing your payroll, stuff like that, and also having some money saved. This is Daryl Eves. He's literally worked with every major YouTuber on the platform, and also he's a co-creator of The Chosen.
I was able to make $1 million really early in my life because it was a goal that I set, and I set a time on it. I think getting $1 million is the easiest thing to do. When you approach it in a very systematic data way, it's just math. How do I get 1,000 people to pay me $1,000? That's $1 million. How do I get 10,000 people to pay me $100? That's $1 million. I can do this all day. And once you figure that out, that's where you're able to make $1 million. So like that, I would just look at how can I bring so much value that 1,000 people are willing to pay me $1,000.
There's this interesting book I read called The Millionaire Mind. They surveyed 1,001 millionaires and put all their findings into this book. 56% of millionaires believe that their 3 key success factors were being honest with people, being well-disciplined, and getting along with people. I thought this one was really interesting. Over 78% of millionaires experienced a teacher telling them that they weren't adequate enough, or they were either normal or below average. And so they knew that they needed to work hard in order just to keep up with everybody else. 81% of millionaires picked their vocation based on if it allowed them to use their full abilities. And only 30% of them chose their vocation because it was fulfilling a lifelong dream. I think this makes a really good point where no one really cares about what you're passionate about. Everyone only cares about what you can do for them. So no one's gonna pay you to fulfill your lifelong dreams, but they will pay you to fulfill their lifelong dreams or to give them some sort of value. And most people's lifelong dreams are usually what they think is valuable to other people. So if you think about it, the reason that you love a musician and you want to become a rock star or an actor is because you perceive that to be valuable, because a whole bunch of other, like millions of people listen to this one musician, and therefore I want to become a musician because other people perceive that as valuable, and also I perceive it as valuable because I love that person's music. The next one I thought was really cool. It's lifestyle activities of millionaires. So I try to go through them and see if there was anything different that they do that the average person doesn't do. So they do average things like socializing with their children or grandchildren and entertaining close friends, but also what they do is planning investments and studying investment opportunities. So 86% of them plan investments, which I don't see a lot of people doing. And what's actually really interesting is that only 46% of them eat fast food, and so only 31% of them shop at Walmart. That's actually really interesting.
As a multi-millionaire, if the doc were to start from scratch, how would you become a multi-millionaire again?
New donation.
Or you go into modeling or something, I don't know.
This is Hard Rock Nick. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know who this guy is. I've seen him on a couple of shows, but he's the iconic meme behind
You think it's funny to take screenshots of people's NFTs, huh? Property theft is a joke to you.
He says he's
The richest man in the world.
but he sells cameos for $49.
How I would make $1 million if I were starting from scratch today, presumably, correct? I do sometimes like to kind of do stuff on the side just for fun, just to kind of take my Ferrari out of the garage, if you will. 'Cause I'm a smart guy, even though I have some ink on me, it looks like I might be a rock star to some people, or, you know, but obviously you know who I am. You're probably not gonna like this, but I would start a law firm. Like, even though you may not be a lawyer, I'm certainly not a lawyer, but why not start a law firm, own it, hire attorneys, obviously, and then you basically are the owner and operator. And of course, if you ever need legal representation, it's right there in-house for you, right?
Now, what about the richest man that has ever walked the face of the planet? I'm not talking Elon, I'm not talking Jeff or Warren, I'm talking King Solomon, whose net worth today would be worth $2.1 trillion. Thankfully for us, King Solomon wrote 2 books, and this little book called the Bible. And a lot of self-help books today actually just come from Proverbs, which is one of the books that he wrote. So if you've ever heard, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, that was written by King Solomon 3,000 years ago. Whoever walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. Proverbs 13:20. Those who work their land will have an abundance of food, but those who chase fantasies have no sense. Kind of goes back to what I was talking about in the Millionaire Mind, where 80% of people people chose their vocation based on their skills and their abilities rather than trying to chase their lifelong dream, because chasing your lifelong dream doesn't really get anybody anywhere, but actually using your skills and helping other people is providing value. Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow. And that actually kind of reminds me of like 70% of all lottery winners end up broke after like 3 years. And it's like, how do you spend 50, hundreds of millions of dollars? Like, how do you even do that? Where does that even money go? All hard work brings a profit, but mere talk only leads to poverty. This is one of my favorite verses. A little extra sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest. Then poverty will pounce on you like a bandit. Scarcity will attack you like an armed robber. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender. I think this one is really good, and I don't think really anybody realizes this, but we're all still kind of slaves. Not in the, not. Because if you buy a house or have to pay rent or have a loan on a car, you have to think about how much time and money are you spending trying to pay those things off. My rent here at this apartment is $1,000 a month. Let's just say I made $20 an hour. It would take me 50 hours to pay just my rent, which means I gave 50 hours to my landlord. The things that we own usually own us more than we own it. We're literally giving our life away for these things because the rich man gave me the money to be able to afford those things, and I have to pay the rich man back with my time. There are two ways of fixing this. One being reducing the cost of living. So just having a cheaper apartment or a cheaper car. I mean, for most people, it's always going to cost you something to live somewhere and to have a car, So the other way is to provide more value to the market so they give you more money per hour. And so now if I make $250 an hour, it only costs me 4 hours rather than the 50 hours if I was making $20 an hour. But what is the number one best piece of advice from the richest man that has ever walked the face of the earth? Proverbs 4:7. Getting wisdom is the wisest thing you can do. So use everything you have to get understanding. This is a super interesting verse because it's like the wisest thing we can do is to get wise. And to get wise, you get wise, right? So the smartest thing you can literally do is just get smarter.
Karsten, it's Murr from Impractical Jokers. Ignore the cut on my head. I fell. Anyways, that's not important. Here's the advice. What I've learned in life is that money comes and goes. The only thing that matters truly is time. It's the only currency you cannot get more of, and it's expiring as we speak. Hopefully not today for me or my beautiful wife. But remember, the only currency that matters is not money, it's time. And so you better make sure you spend your time doing what you love because your time's going to run out one day. There you go. That's a good piece of advice. Now, if I had to give you advice on how to make $1 million, here's the plan. Stick with me. Okay, so I recently went on vacation to Australia. And in case you don't know, Australia is over the international date line. So when you travel to Australia, you actually arrive a day in the future from the rest of the world. True. So the plan is this. You get on a super fast plane. Try to splurge to get at least economy plus because it's a long flight. You fly from JFK. You haul to Sydney, right? You land in the future a day ahead. You then look up on the internet what the winning lotto numbers were back in America in Mega Millions. Then you immediately get right back on a plane, fly back another, 20 hours to America. If you time it right, you can land at JFK in time for the Mega Millions lottery that you already know the answers to in the future. You see what I'm saying? Because you've gone back in time when you cross back over the international date line. You haul out of JFK, go straight to a 7-Eleven, play Mega Millions with the numbers you looked up in the future in Australia, and you win $1 million. The plan is, as I can see it, is foolproof.